All right, it is now time for Intersection. We will focus on one story this evening, Trudeau's testimony at the Foreign Interference Inquiry today. Here to break down what we learned and what it all means, Michel Juneau-Katsuya, the former CSIS Asia-Pacific Division Chief and Senior Intelligence Officer, and Sheila Copps, former Deputy Prime Minister, and Duff Conacher, the founder of Democracy Watch, will join us shortly. So Trudeau stressed the importance of addressing foreign interference, but he then said that he did not have sufficient intelligence to do so themselves. Let's have a listen to what he had to say here. Let's play this clip for you guys.
When we took office in 2015, there was very little, if any, mechanisms to counter foreign interference. Yes, our intelligence agencies did good work, but the idea or the priority of protecting our democracy, particularly when it comes to misinformation, disinformation, active engagement in various diaspora communities or electoral events, was not on the radar.
Okay, so Michel, I'm going to start with you. Essentially what the Prime Minister said there is that they were starting from zero when the Liberals took office. What do you make of that?
To a certain extent, he was not starting from zero because CSIS existed, but definitely it did in some level improve certain element. But comes 2016 and they know about foreign interference. Matter of fact, in his first testimony, Minister LeBlanc said at 10 minutes 39 seconds in his testimony that they already knew in 2016. Now, with all the dragging that we've been going, and until we receive the result of the inquiry at the end of 2024, then we'll move in 2025 in election time, and then we'll have to wait until probably 2026 before we have a law. And in the document that we saw that he received after the leak in the fall of 2022, it is said by the PMO people that we need a law. And we still don't have a law. And you don't need evidence. You don't need to challenge if it's true, not true, or something like this. It is existing. 350 witnesses in four different parliamentary committee in the last winter told you that for the last 30 years we've been witnessing, and CSIS have been telling you, every single prime minister, that we have foreign interference, particularly coming from China. And we're still waiting. So we're going to have to wait 10 years when our allies in 2017, for example, the Australian, gave a law and came out with a law. Why are we waiting? And the reason why the RCMP have not been capable to lay any charges is because the current criminal code and the law system that we have doesn't allow them to be capable to identify what is illegal, not only by foreign agents, but also by Canadians that are co-opted and are helping them in the course of their action. Okay,
Duff, I'm going to let you pick up on that point. And also, you know, the Prime Minister's job was, yes, to answer questions today and talk about procedure, but also really the public was watching this, to give people faith in the democratic institutions of this country, and their, you know, the foundation of that is their elections. Did he succeed?
No, I don't think so. I think the Liberals' answers do not add up to the questions that are being asked. And beyond that, as Michel has highlighted, it goes way beyond the issue of foreign agents who are acting on behalf of or sponsored by foreign governments or foreign businesses and are trying to influence politics here in Canada. There are a dozen other ways that it is legal to secretly and unethically influence and interfere in Canadian politics as a foreigner. The inquiries heard testimony about highlighting some of those, such as it's legal to intervene secretly in a nomination race, and foreigners are allowed to vote in nomination contests of the parties. But there are 10 more ways that it's legal. Secret unethical lobbying is legal. The political finance system is wide open to abuses and secret money flowing through from foreign sources. And the Liberals have known about these loopholes since 2016. And when the Election Act was changed in 2018, And now they've introduced a new bill to make further changes, and those changes do not still close these dozen loopholes that allow for secret, unethical foreign interference. So if we have problems in the next election, it really is the Liberals' fault. They have delayed things, and it will be difficult unless this current bill is amended in very significant ways to have all these loopholes closed before the election in 2025. And it'll be the Liberals' fault if there's problems as a result.
Do you agree with that, Sheila? Does this lay at the Liberals' feet squarely in the next election if these loopholes, as Duff said, are not closed?
No, but Duff is talking about a range of issues which he has issues with. The reality is that in today's testimony, the Prime Minister's testimony, there were two former CSIS heads of CSIS who came out and basically said that he had no information directed to him that would have allowed him to act in any of the cases that were leaked to the media. So you have a leaked CSIS person who's given information that is false. It was stated again today it was false. It was false. And both CSIS former executive heads of CSIS both say that the government has done everything that it can do in terms of managing it. Getting back to Michel's point, Michel, I'm sorry, I was an MP for over 20 years, and I had RCMP knocking at my door for Muslims in my riding that they didn't understand that Muslims went to mosques and mosques voted. There's a great gap in information between those people who are sent to monitor foreign influence and those people who are involved in the political process. And of course, in a country, in my own ex-constituency, with over 60 language groups, I had 36 different multicultural committees, and I was communicating with all of them in their languages. That's Canada. And there's a big difficulty in saying, CSIS, you're going to have oversight of all these people. Duff just said there were secret people voting. Well, if it was so secret, why is it known wide and large that you can be 14 and vote in a political party process? Not secret. It's open, and people are actually at the meeting voting. It's not secret.
I didn't say secret people were voting. Sorry. That's just completely false.
I think you did say that. Sorry.
Okay.
You may think I did think that, but I didn't say it.
Michel, I'm going to get you to weigh in on what Sheila said there. And when it comes to Han Dong, the Prime Minister said, in this case, I didn't feel like there was sufficiently credible information that would justify removing a candidate. Essentially, that the information that the PMO, the Prime Minister, had to remove him, from that nomination, did not meet the bar.
And this is what is interesting, because the Prime Minister spent and his staff spent a long period of time to try to convince everybody that they know exactly what foreign interference is about. They know exactly the difference between foreign influence. And with all that expertise, they're capable to receive the intelligence from CSIS and discard it because they believe it doesn't meet the threshold. What is the threshold, by the way? And if you know what security and intelligence is about, by the way, there's a political staff that leaked to Han Dong that he was a target from CSIS. That is treason. That is supposed to be in court, in criminal court, and to be prosecuted. So somewhere, somehow, a lot of expertise and a lot of time to tell us that we know exactly what foreign interference is about, but no action. Where's the action? The simple element.
But the thing is, Michel,
Yeah.
You just said that if he had been told that he was under investigation, then that was a crime that they should be in court. So what is the point of CSIS coming and briefing the Prime Minister about all of this going on and then telling him that he can't actually do anything with the information, he can't carry the information out, he can't repeat the information to anyone, and how is he supposed to act on it? I think the disconnect is, frankly, in the political parties process, and I hope there'll be some changes in the nominations process, but I think it's a lot more political than it is CSIS spy watching.
Okay, we're talking
You're
about...
absolutely right, Sheila. And for the last 30 years, since Mr. Mulroney all the way to Mr. Trudeau, except for Madame Campbell, who unfortunately didn't stay long enough, every Prime Minister have been told, have been informed. Every Prime Minister either ignored, used it, or for personal gain, or for partisanship. The point of the fact, and Mr. Trudeau said it today, Foreign interference by nature is covert. What you identified and what you see is sometimes just the point of the iceberg. But the moment you've seen the iceberg, you don't sail around the iceberg because you don't know how large it is, and you don't want to do a Titanic out of yourself. You sort of take the action to sort of prevent those things. One of the great problems that we currently have, the law enforcement do not have the proper tools to investigate properly because they cannot prosecute, because the people, we don't know how to define it properly. And unfortunately, we have an ally called Australia in 2017 that came out with a law, very similar legal system. Take that, put a little bit of maple syrup, à la Canadienne, you have your maple, your law, and you can now enforce it. And unfortunately, nothing has been done in that direction. So I'm wondering why it would take 10 years from 2016 to 2026 to come out with a law. It's not a partisanship issue. It's a question of protecting our system, because currently what we are witnessing and what we are gaining is people that will lose trust into the institutions, because apparently CSIS is not capable to do his job, according to the political staff. People will lose trust into the highest office, the Prime Minister, will lose trust into our system and our capability to fix it. And that is the cynical face that we are currently challenged, that we are currently as a nation. Our system has been sort of under attack.
Okay.
Matter of fact, The Economist has mentioned that since 2022, Canada has went down 7 rank in the sort of world ranking of best democracy. We're still strong, but we're losing ground.
Okay, I want to play, well, Duff, we're going to come back to you on this one. I want to play another clip here, because there was a lot of talk about how the Prime Minister is briefed and how those conversations go. There's things that are written on paper, but sometimes these conversations happen orally. Let's take a listen to that clip.
It happened through secure briefings and conversations that were primarily us receiving information, us asking questions, us directing further actions or research in this area or that area that they would then take away and do.
Okay, so Duff, let's get your thoughts on what the Prime Minister said there, and if he, took enough accountability himself today when it comes to these briefings.
No, I don't think he has, and part of the reason is that a lot of people don't know this, but the Trudeau cabinet is actually withholding some cabinet documents from the Commission and withheld them from David Johnston, the Special Rapporteur, last spring. And Democracy Watch has requested that the Commission get written answers from the Cabinet as to why that's being done and why it was done last spring. And if we don't have those documents and the Trudeau Cabinet continues to hide them, then I think Canadians can justifiably assume that they're being hidden because they would make the Cabinet look bad. And no matter how much they spin it, there's been delay, there are unanswered questions and documents that the public is likely never to see, and those will leave questions that, as Michel notes, will undermine the public's confidence. And Prime Minister Trudeau said today that the public's confidence is key to having a democracy. And again, why has he waited then 8 years to close well-known loopholes that allow for secret, unethical foreign interference in Canadian politics, given that all of those loopholes lead to activities that undermine the public's confidence and therefore make us, hurt us as a democratic country?
There's a say that actions speak louder than words. So I miss you, Sheila, because you were an action-oriented minister and you didn't waste a lot of time to go into action. And that is what has been missing in this exercise here. A lot of hot wind, a lot of sort of excuses, pointing fingers at an organization that is not going to come back and to sort of say the opposite, because CSIS is not going to respond to accusation of not doing its job. And I'm wondering how Mrs. Telford is capable in her own capacity to judge the value of an entire intelligence service that is capable to come out with certain allegations and say, no, I'm going to discard this because, CSIS, it's not really safe what they say usually, and it's not very serious.
But Michel, if you respond to that, so here's this leaked person who supposedly made all these allegations against Hang Dong, and we found out in the middle that they had actually mistranslated the Chinese when he was accused of having asked the Chinese government to delay the release of the two Michaels. That's not true. And since that came out, nobody's found who this person is. This person's leaking information to the front page of the Globe and Mail. It was pretty sensational, and it turns out to be not true. Well, what do you think politicians are going to think if that's the information that they get, and then there's no follow-up? Like, why is this person in CSIS not being
discovered?
We actually don't know what is true in that situation. And there was a commitment made just yesterday.
They made a mistake in the translation.
No, we do not know. We do not even know whether there's a recording of that call. And there was a commitment made yesterday as to whether that can be publicly disclosed, whether there is a recording of that call. Until we know whether there is a recording of that call or not, we do not know what was said during that call. And what you don't do overall in these kind of questionable situations is what the Trudeau cabinet has done, which is that almost everyone who is overseeing foreign interference and trying to stop it serves at the pleasure of the cabinet, the Trudeau cabinet, the ruling party cabinet, and was appointed by them. So they do not have independence.
It's called governor and council,
when you are chosen by and you serve and you are serving at the direction of and you are serving at the pleasure of someone, you are not independent from them. And we need independent watchdogs enforcing all of these laws, including a new anti-corruption and anti-foreign interference police force, because the RCMP has shown again and again in these cases that it is incapable of enforcing anti-corruption and anti-foreign interference laws.
Okay,
and that
I've got time to do one last whip around here in terms of what everyone is looking to when we get this initial report in May and then the second phase of this. We know that CSIS officials are being called back on Friday. Sheila, we'll start with you.
Well, I do think this is a political issue. It's not a CSIS issue. And I think what you're going to find out at the end of this process is that there were some mistakes made in terms of the nominations process. I could give you chapter and verse of stories about nominations that have nothing to do with foreign interference, but a lot to do with skullduggery. That's the world of politics. And I think you're going to find in the end that the nomination process may be subject to review a lot more than CSIS.
Do you think that, Sheila, before we go to Duff and Michel one more time, do you think that this is penetrating? I mean, this is a conversation that we have had, since this inquiry started and even before that, but do you think it's penetrating to the Canadians that are dealing with cost of living issues, housing, et cetera, that they're paying as much attention in granular detail as we are parsing this?
No, I think to most people, they're confused. They don't know who to believe. They don't know what to think. It's extremely confusing. And when you have all these redacted documents and thousands of pages and different people cross-examining, you're just kind of left with your eyes glazed over and thinking, okay, let's change the channel.
Okay, Michel, on that and also what you're looking forward ahead here as this continues to move toward the initial report and then the second phase.
Well, I think a wonderful opportunity was missed when the allegation came out in the fall of 2022 for the Prime Minister to say, okay, listen, I think we made some mistake. We didn't assess properly, but let's rally. I'm asking the opposition to rally because this is national security and we need to tackle this for the sake of this country. But it didn't do that. And what we've been seeing here is a show that has been sort of well rehearsed to try to sort of point the finger in the direction of CSIS, saying that these guys don't know what to do. The thing is that in the world of intelligence, a ton is a ton. A ton of brick or a ton of feather, a ton is a ton. But in the world of intelligence, we need more feather, not brick. And sometimes you cannot judge on a single event. Like Sheila, you were talking about this recording exists or doesn't exist. Okay, maybe we don't have sort of the proof of that. But what about the rest that accumulate that ton that I'm talking about? The communication with foreign entities. You don't need to speak to a candidate. You don't need to speak to a foreign representative. What about those buses? What about those strange meetings?
Those buses and foreign representatives and buses. That's a normal part of politics. I used to speak to foreign representatives all the time. As an MP. I'm just saying there's a dissonance between what CSIS sees as politics and what we see as politics. And that's the part that's confusing to the public.
Okay,
and therefore, the definition is so important, because the cynicism and the distrust that is currently building up about our system, it's killing us.
Okay.
And now nobody wants to go into politics because they are afraid or they don't trust the system anymore.
Duff, final word to you.
Well, I think we'll end up, because of the secrecy, including the cabinet documents that the Trudeau cabinet's refusing to give to the commission, we'll just have more questions at the end of the fact-finding phase. The key in the policy phase is that we get strong recommendations as soon as possible from the commissioner, so we can get a bill done to close the dozens or so loopholes that allow for secret, unethical foreign interference, make it legal and therefore impossible to stop. And until those loopholes are closed, we'll continue to see these kind of activities undermine our politics and our democracy.
Guys, that is all the time that we have for tonight. That is a wrap on our Intersection panel. With us were Michel Juneau-Katsuya, the former CSIS Asia-Pacific Division Chief and Senior Intelligence Officer, Duff Conacher, the founder of Democracy Watch, and Sheila Copps, of course, a regular here, former Deputy Prime Minister of Canada.